Well, I think that apart from the balancing, there's also there's no better person to know who to succeed in. They say in life there's no success without a successor. If you look at the intellectual exposure of the governor, side by side that of the deputy governor, they are miles, apart. It took the deputy governor, he had extra years in university, and there's nothing wrong with that. But beyond having been a graduate of University of Jos, I'm not sure that he has added any academic feather, to that. Put that side by side the governor, who's been a major player in the public sector. There is no major deal. There's no major deal in this country, whether it is the unbundling of the electricity company, whether it is stock market, whether it is the telecoms. You will see the fingerprint of Godwin OBASEKI. He's World Bank trained. I went to Harvard. It's got a lot of exposure, and he's putting that exposure to bear in the governance. So when you look at it, it's beginning to look like, I'm not very sure that this guy can intellectually follow the pace and for me, this is my projection. I don't have any concrete evidence to substantiate, but it's beginning to look like, let me even get somebody close to what I'm doing, so that the reforms, because the government is doing a lot of reforms, whether in the civil society, whether in civil service, whether it is in processes. By September, the governor has said there'll be no paper proposals anymore. You want to drop a file, it's an e-file, so that all of these things about red tapeism and bureaucratic bottleneck moving from table to table is no longer there. As we speak now, the whole of government house runs on e-governance. The governor doesn't sign any paper. All files come to him. As soon as you drop a file, and the receptionist enters it, he knows that a file has been dropped. So everybody who that file must go through, know that they must expedite action electronically. Not that when you carry file up, bring it down, carry it up, everything. And the man wants to do that for the whole state. Those states are perhaps the only state in this country where there's free Wi-Fi in public places. You go to John Odige Public Service Academy, free Wi-Fi. You go to the Popular Ring Road, free Wi-Fi. There are a couple of places. And the man wants to do it across the nation so that we can have something that looks like a modern city with modern governance. And that requires a lot of technicality. So perhaps he's looking at the fact that apart from the senatorial balance, which is critical to him, I also think that he's looking at the fact that he'll probably need somebody who is a little bit more intellectually upscaled to take over from him. But I'm not sure that the governor has any misgivings, personal misgivings towards deputy governor. He's demonstrated it again and again. 5 times he's traveled out. He's giving him power. Acting governor. He's been acting governor 5 times. When he leaves, he says, yes, acting governor 5 times. I'm not sure that I've heard of it, not even in Delta State. Not even in Rivers State. There is no South governor. I don't know what's happening in other senatorial districts who would give his deputy full powers to act in his absence. Electricity. I said it before. I said 90 megawatts is privately generated by Edo State. Remember, there was a time in this country. The government house is left the national grid. Government house is not under Edo beneath Disco anymore. Nigerian Union of Journalists have 22 hours of electricity, all the street lights, the national stadium, the state secretariat, all of them are off the national grid. The beauty of it is that we erected new poles all the way from Osisioma, where the power plant is, to town. And we are distributing them to everybody who wants to join outside the national grid. What has happened is that we have freed the national grid to be able to distribute electricity to other people. I live in GRA. Now I have 20 to 22 hours of electricity on a daily basis. I'm sure those of you who are in Lagos know that's magic. 22 hours. And it's scheduled. I know when there will be light. I know when there's, on the average, like we say, bad as bad, I must have 16 to 18 hours on a daily basis. Imagine the multiply effect that has on businesses, on the barber who must use generator, on the tailor. If you have 16 hours, there are hotels that have 20, almost 24 hours, and their generator is not working. So it has made Edo the cynosure of all eyes in terms of the destination of business, the ease with which you can do business. In 3 days, you can buy a land. In 1 week, 2 weeks, you have a C of O. So
in Edo State?
Yes, people are rushing. There are several housing estates going on, not less than 50, 50 of them. And there are some of them as much as 100 acres, 40 acres, because it doesn't take all they take to the governor is just to sign the C of O, because all of the processes has been done by the Edo GIS. That's the Geographic Information Service. So you are seeing all of the acronyms.
So
Edo Best. Yeah, Edo Best, Edo HIS, Edo GIS. So that we can put these things in autopilot, and these things can work for themselves. We're not talking about what he's doing in terms of reforming some of our institutions. You see some of the, like College of Education, Ugoraiki. If you see it now, with trees, you would think that you are outside the shores of this country, but it is in Edo State. Some persons may not understand, because governance is tangible and the intangibles. People look at roads, and he's done quite a lot in roads, but I like what he's doing in terms of reforms. Edo State is the only state in Nigeria paying 40,000 naira minimum wage. The only state. And people will tell you that on the 25th or 26th of every month, without fail, for the past 5 years, 6 years, your salary will drop. And then if you retire today, automatically, because of technology, your name moves from an employee of government, moves immediately to the pension enrollment, but immediately you just transit. Nobody writes to you.